So I got turned on to this series when I was about 11 by my cousin. I went to a book fair at school and it was sitting on the shelf and I just had to pick this up. It's called Redwall by Brian Jacques. I've been pronouncing his name wrong for years. It's actually Jacques, but I've been saying Jacques all the time. It's Brian Jacques. It's a very good series. It's a high adventure series with rodents and other creatures, woodland creatures, and there's no humans. It's just creatures running around like with swords and stuff. It's basically a fantasy but without magic. And the rats and snakes and toads and foxes and stoats and weasels, they're all the bad guys, and the good guys are like mice and hedgehogs and moles and otters, shrews. They're all good guys. And it's like there's this bad guy called Clooney the Scourge. He's a rat pirate basically, out to get this abbey. All the mice and like the good guys live in an abbey called Redwall Abbey because it's all red brick, and it's basically like a monastery. There's a father abbot, there's a friar, there's a cellar hog. Usually the hedgehog runs the cellars, and there's usually a sister, a bunch of sisters, infirmary. So it all has its structure. The abbey does, but there's a lot of lawlessness going on. It's not like there's a society or anything. There's woodlands, and there's different islands, offshoots. There's even a mountain stronghold off in the distance. Like usually there's a map in the book that shows you what the world looks like, and there's this mountain where badgerlords live, and they have an army basically of hares called the Long Patrol. It's pretty badass. The series just always delivered. Every book like left me riveted. And between waiting for the new books to come out, I would just go back and read the first one or read another installment because I just couldn't get enough of the series. It was so much fun. I was already into high adventure and fantasy, but like reading this really gave me a love for that genre. I read it at least 3 times. The first one, anyway. I read the other ones multiple times. But I was so sad to hear this author passed away. Brian Jacques was such a good writer. Like, he always left me thinking, these characters are so believable, even though they're not people. They're talking animals. Like, it shouldn't have been believable, but it was. And then the food, he describes the food so much that you want to eat all the food in the book. And his use of songs, like, he was just so creative. Like, such an inspiration to me as a writer that I just had to talk about this book first in this series. I'm doing this series about, books, and I'll probably do one about movies too, movies that I love. So yeah, I don't like to talk about things that I don't like because there's really no point to that. You just want to talk about things you like. I find, at least people will listen to you then.